Hi guys, are you fans of the Caron Pour Un Homme de Caron series of fragrances focusing on lavender? This is Caron Pour Un Homme de Caron, and they have Caron Pour Un Homme de Caron Sport, which is this one. I have a full review of it on the channel. And then recently they had launched Caron Pour Un Homme de Caron Low, this one right here. I featured it in my compliment fragrances video. And then there's this Millesime 2014 also that if you can get your hands on, you should get, because it's a much more intense version of this. Anyway, if you're curious to learn about these 4 fragrances focusing on lavender, dating back to 1934 for the original, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. That's right, today we're talking about Caron Pour Un Homme de Caron. I feel like these are very inexpensive fragrances, and if you're looking for your next great aromatic fragrance focusing on lavender, then these would be great ones for you to start with. I have been a fan of this for the longest time. I first discovered it in the 70s. My dad used to wear it, and I was really into that smell of lavender. We had a big bottle of it in the bathroom in the house when I lived in the Middle East, and I could always open it up and smell it and really be obsessed with the way it smells. The lavender smell is so amazing. It's one of my favorite smells in nature, and it's captured it perfectly in this bottle. So we're going to talk about this fragrance plus the 2 additional flankers, and then of course this one that was a very rare release that came out in 2014 to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the original. But before we do that, if this is your first time tuning into the channel and you still haven't subscribed to the channel, please click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So Caron Pour Un Homme de Caron was launched in 1934. We're almost nearing 100 years for this fragrance, and it stood the test of time. In fact, the house is a pretty old house. I know they've been having some challenging times lately. They used to have a store in New York City which closed several years ago, and I think that there's some stuff going on with the brand. I'm hoping somebody like LVMH or some big conglomerate buys the brand and keeps the fragrances, because they have some amazing fragrances. But the fragrances that I'm going to speak to you about, minus the Millesime 2014, which I don't see around anymore, but if you can get your hands on it, as I said, do, because it's a very concentrated version of this, are all very inexpensive. In fact, you can get the original at Fragrance X. I do have links in the info box if you're curious to shop for these fragrances, and you can get this one for just under $30. You can get the Sport for about $35, and then you can get the Low, which is the latest flanker that came out in 2018, for about $55 or $52, somewhere around there. So they're fairly inexpensive, and these are 120 ml bottles, so you get in like 20 mils of more juice compared to the 100 ml traditional bottles. So if you want to start with the original, it's about $28 and for 120 ml bottles, as I said, and they are sold at Fragrance X. And I highly recommend these ones. A lot of people say these are maybe barbershop-y, but I don't get that with this. The reason I don't get the barbershop experience with them, you do get major lavender because that's the main player here, but you also get lots of musk here, and then you have the warm touches of the vanilla. That's what's in here. So it's mostly lavender, vanilla, and musk. And it also kind of hints at things like Tom Ford's Lavender Extreme, I think it's called. And then there's Molinard's Lavande. So those fragrances come to mind when you think of something like this, because it does have lots of warm touches with the lavender. This is an eau de toilette concentration. In the end, it's a warm fragrance, but it's very aromatic. It's considered an aromatic, and I think people tend to really love it. It's funny because sometimes I associate lavender with more of a feminine fragrance. That doesn't really bother me because I love the smell of lavender to begin with, but a lot of ladies love this one. And this is actually a great fragrance for a bed scent. And if you like bed scents, if you like to wear fragrances to bed, it is not only inexpensive, it's like, you know, about $30 for a 120 ml bottle, but lavender, it has a very calming, soothing experience. And not only get the lavender's calmingness. You also have that vanilla, which is also very cozy and comforting. The two together are a wonderful bed scent. The combination is a wonderful bed scent. And that's why I highly recommend this as a bed scent, but you can wear it, you know, all throughout the day. Lavender always has a very relaxing appeal, like experience for me. I just feel like it's a it relaxes me. And sometimes I carry like a lavender roll-on, which I don't usually like to do, but I found some that if you just, you know, put it around your neck, it kind of does do like calm you down. But then you can also apply something like this. Anyway, this is a wonderful fragrance. Again, it's a classic that I've loved ever since the 70s when I first smelled it from my dad, and I just don't think it goes out of style. So that's Caron pour un homme de Caron from 1934. We're jumping all the way to 2015 for the sport version, which is this one right here. And I have a full review of this. I did it like just less than a year after it was launched. Oh, I forgot to mention the perfumer of this is Ernest Daltroff. I think he's a very well-known perfumer. But the remainder of the three fragrances I'm going to talk to you about, the two that still are available for sale, and then the third one that's not available for sale, or the fourth one, are created by William Fraysse. I'm assuming he works for Caron. But this, as I said, is a 120 ml bottle for about $35, $36. Very inexpensive. It's available at Fragrance X. I saw the deals all there, every single one of them except for the Millesime one. And you can get them for pretty inexpensively. But this one has notes at the top of citruses, grapefruit, mandarin orange, lemongrass, and lavender. In the heart, you've got ginger, nutmeg, cedar. In the base, you've got tonka beans, benzoin, ambergris, and musk. So basically, they've taken the lavender into a different direction, and they've actually skipped the vanilla. I don't see vanilla in here. They've actually made it more of a citrus aromatic this time rather than a straightforward aromatic, which is what this one's considered. But I could go to the extreme of calling this an oriental aromatic, because vanillas tend to go very oriental to me. That's one of the main ingredients or notes in oriental fragrances. But here it's definitely a citrus aromatic. I would also go to the extent of calling it a spicy citrus aromatic. But lots of citruses here. The citruses are main players with the lavender, and they work wonderfully together. But there is a minty touch in here, and I think it's just a combination of some of the notes and spices that come off like a mintiness. There's that ginger. It's got a very zingy quality. The grapefruit also has a zingy quality. So in the end, you're experiencing like a very sporty version of the Caron pour un homme de Caron, and it's called Sport. That's why it's called Sport. I think just like La Ligue's Encre Noire Sport, that grapefruit and some of the citruses that you add in a fragrance just gives it a very zingy, uplifting vibe. And that's what's going on here with this fragrance. The lavender, as I said, is a very relaxing note for me, especially when it's combined with that vanilla. It's very, very cozy and comforting. And here, they've got kind of like the best of both worlds. You got the very, very calming lavender, but you got lots of like uplifting kind of notes with spices and citruses. So in the end, it's a unique take on the original. I don't know if this one would, I'm not sure if ladies, if you like this one, would you go with something like this? I mean, does that really appeal to you with the whole kind of aromatic citrus and spicy kind of a concoction? Whereas this one, I know definitely women wear it. I'm not sure, I haven't seen or heard the ladies pull for this one, but it's very, I think it's a masculine experience because of those citruses and spices. Anyway, that's Caron pour un homme de Caron Sport. Again, this was launched in 2015. 120 ml bottles, about 35 bucks. As I said, 35, 36 bucks. And I think it's definitely worth it in the end. And again, this is more unisex to me, but originally it was a men's fragrance. As I said, it's still called Homme. Homme is for men, basically stands for men, but as I said, is a very, very unisex fragrance. I guess at one point they thought lavender is a very, very masculine note, but now I feel like lavender has become more of a, well, lavender in barbershop fragrances or fougères are definitely masculine, but here, mixing it with the vanilla, I feel like it's gotten very unisex. But this one definitely is more on the masculine side. All right, the last one I'm going to talk to you about before I get to that exclusive one, and if you can get your hands on that exclusive one, you should, because it's freaking amazing. Caron pour un homme de Caron Low. Now the low, it basically stands for water, and basically what they've done here, and as I said, I picked this one up because I really fell in love with it when I was in France. I saw it at the Printemps, a boutique in Paris, and they had it there. I'm like, wow, I didn't even know, and I didn't even hear about this flanker to the original. So this came out in 2018. 120 ml bottle currently is about $52 at Fragrance X again, and the perfumer once again is William Fraysse. Notes, you've got lime and lavender at the top, so there's that kind of a citrusy, zingy quality. The lime has a very zingy quality, especially when you put it in something like a margarita. I get that kind of a spicy, slightly bitter, juicy citrus quality. So you have that here with the top. And the base notes you've got, in the heart notes you've got bourbon, geranium, and vanilla. So the vanilla comes in the heart here. The vanilla is brought back. It's been taken out here, but brought back here. And then finally in the base you've got Ambergris and Vetiver, and what they've done is they've removed the musk and added Vetiver here. So it is more of a masculine offering once again, but the vanillic touches do come in. It's almost like a softer take on the fragrance, whereas this one is very vanillic with the lavender. It's a nice balance of the two. Here, even though lavender is credited for this one, the vanilla is definitely credited for this one. It's almost like it's in the background and trying to get through to come and join the lavender, but it just quite doesn't get there. But along the way, you have that ambergris and vetiver and the geranium experience as well. Now, I don't know why they would call this a low, because I guess I would know why they would call this a low, because it does act very watery. It doesn't have the intensity. It's got a very, very smooth, flowy, water-like experience. When I wear this one, people compliment and say what you're wearing, what I'm wearing, and I feel like it's just a nice balance of all the notes together. Not too much lavender, not too much vanilla, a little bit of ambergris, and a little bit of vetiver, along with that geranium and the lime. The lime definitely does come in, but just only at the top. It goes away right after you spray it, probably about 10-15 minutes later. The lime is pretty much gone, and everything else is the experience. So I feel like in the end, it is a very watery experience. It's not necessarily aquatic or anything like that, but it has a very smooth, flowy kind of a vibe. Very, very like drizzly, watery, rather than like harsh in your face. Because sometimes this particular fragrance can get harsh because of the notes. Here, it's just a little more smoother and more refined take on the original. You still get the lavender, you still get the vanilla. Everything else is just kind of like secondary players, but very, very smooth. And that's the experience I get with Caron pour un homme de Caron Low. And I'm happy I have this one. I like the fact that it does garner compliments. It does smell great. It's kind of like a softer version of the original. Anyway, that is Caron pour un homme de Caron Low, launched in 2018. Again, it's about $51 at Fragrance X. This one right here is a phenomenal fragrance. Everything that you smell here is just concentrated. It's like a more beefy version of the original. And this was created, it's Millesime 2014, as you can see there. I don't know if you can read, but it was created for the 80th anniversary of this. And I could see why they would do that. They would make a more concentrated version of this particular fragrance. And I love wearing it. In fact, I used to wear this one to bed as well, because I just love the lavender. It's the calmingness of the lavender. But it's just a nice balance of lavender, vanilla, and amber together. And there's some musk in here. So they've added some amber notes, and I think that's what's actually boosted up the fragrance concentration. Just makes it a lot thicker and more, not as light as this one. Now this one is light. It's an eau de toilette, but it's not a wimp or anything. I feel like it's a nice eau de toilette. Works great, has about 5-hour longevity, but for $28 I feel like it lasts enough for the price you pay for it. I mean, I know this used to be a lot more like it lasted a lot longer than what it lasts now, but I believe that reformulations have kind of like made the fragrance to be a lot lighter than it used to be. But here, as I said, is amazing. And I don't know if you can find this one, but I hope you can. If you can, snatch it up if you see it anywhere. I doubt it, but I'm most certain if this brand still sticks around with us. I know they're having some challenging times. If they do stick around with us, I'm assuming they will make a 100-year anniversary of this one. And this came out in 34, so we've got 14 years to go. In the end, that's a long time, but this version is pretty amazing. Now maybe they'll make a 90-year version in 2024, as this one came out in 2014, as I said. Anyway, those are my thoughts on this collection of fragrances from Caron. Now I know the house has other fragrances for men, and I'm hoping to do more videos on this house. Do you guys know this house, Caron? Have you ever been to their boutiques in Paris? Amazing boutiques. They have some amazing fragrances. That's why I feel like this house should stay around. I don't want them to go under, because I know they're having some challenging times, but hopefully they'll exist, and hopefully you guys can go and check these fragrances out. But let me know, have you tried Caron pour un homme de Caron? Do you like the idea of lavender and vanilla together? And what do you think about Caron pour un homme de Caron? If you've used it or not. If you've used the sport version, have you tried the low? Or if you're lucky, have you tried the Millesime 2014? Let me know your thoughts, put some comments down so I can find out. Other than that, guys, thanks so much for watching today. Please like this video, please share it, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.